Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into the Office tools from your CBSE curriculum. We're going to break down all that theory and turn it into real, practical skills. Stuff you'll actually use, not just for your exams, but for, well, pretty much everything you do from here on out.
Okay, let's just get this out of the way. I know what you're probably thinking. It's 2025. You've got a million apps on your phone. You've got Google Docs. So why are we focusing on this particular Office suite? It might seem a little old school, right? But stick with me, there's an excellent reason. You see, it's not really about the software at all. It's about mastering three skills that are absolutely timeless: how to write and format documents, how to analyze data, and how to present your ideas. Get these three down, and I promise you, you'll be set for your entire career, no matter what program is trendy next year. All right, let's get into our first core skill, making your words look sharp and professional. And for this, our go-to tool is the word processor, OpenOffice Writer. So, what is a word processor, really? At its heart, you can think of it as your own personal typesetter. Its whole job is to take your words, your ideas, your reports, whatever, and give them structure, making them look good and easy to read. It turns a simple text file into a professional document. Now, here's a really key idea to grasp. Writer thinks on two different levels. First, you have paragraph formatting. This is when you do something like center a headline or create a bulleted list. It only affects that specific chunk of text. Then you have page formatting, which is the big picture. Things like the margins or flipping the page from portrait to landscape. That affects the entire document.
And hey, you don't have to catch every little mistake yourself. The software has your back with these little wavy lines. You know the ones. Red means, hey, I think you misspelled this word. Blue means, this sentence sounds a bit weird grammatically. And here's a pro tip for you. Don't just right-click each one. Just hit the F7 key and it'll pop up the full spell check tool to run through everything at once. Super useful.
Okay, skill number 2. We're switching gears from words to numbers. It's time to learn how to find the stories hidden in data using the spreadsheet tool, OpenOffice Calc.
So what is a spreadsheet? Well, it's basically a giant, intelligent grid made of cells. Think of it as a super calculator that doesn't just add numbers up, it organizes them into neat rows and columns. This layout is what lets you do complex calculations and, more importantly, start seeing patterns in your data.
Now, this is probably the most important thing to get right in Calc: the difference between text and numbers. Calc calls text labels, and you'll notice it automatically shoves them to the left side of the cell. Numbers, it calls values, and it aligns those to the right. This isn't just for looks. It's a critical visual cue. It's reminding you that you can only do math on the stuff on the right, the values.
All right, here comes a classic exam question. This one really separates the people who get Calc from those who don't. You type in the formula equals 5 plus 2 times 3. Your brain goes, okay, 5 plus 2 is 7. 7 times 3 is 21. But Calc gives you 11. What just happened? Did the computer make a mistake?
Nope. The computer is just following the rules. It uses something called the order of operations, which you might remember as BODMAS. It's like a grammar rule for math, and it says you always do multiplication before you do addition. So Calc looks at your formula, solves 2 times 3 first to get 6, and then it adds the 5. That's how it gets 11.
And this is where you take control. You can override BODMAS by using brackets. If you type equals 5 plus 2 times 3, you're telling Calc, hey, ignore your usual rules and do what's in these brackets first. So it calculates 5 plus 2 to get 7, and then it multiplies by 3 to get the 21 you wanted. See? You're the boss.
Once you've got your data all sorted, it's time to make it visual. But you have to pick the right chart for the job. Think of it this way. If you're comparing different things, like marks between students, use a bar chart. If you're showing how different pieces make up a whole, like percentages of a vote, a pie chart is perfect. And if you're tracking something over time, like temperature changes, nothing tells that story better than a line chart.
And that brings us to our third and final core skill, telling a story visually. This is where we pull everything together, our words, our data, and build a persuasive argument using the presentation tool, OpenOffice Impress.
So, before you even start making your first slide, let me tell you about the most powerful tool in the whole program, the Slide Master. Seriously, think of it like the DNA of your presentation. Any change you make in the Slide Master, the background, the font, a logo, it instantly applies to every single slide. It's the secret to a consistent, professional-looking presentation.
Now, here's something that trips a lot of people up in exams, but it's actually really simple: transitions versus animations.
A transition is how you get between slides. You know, like a fade or a wipe from slide 1 to slide 2. An animation is what happens on a slide. It's how an object, like a piece of text or an image, moves onto the screen. So, between slides or on a slide. Simple as that.
So there you have it, the 3 big skills: writing, analyzing, and presenting. Now, let's wrap this up by talking about what it takes to go from someone who just uses these tools to someone who is a real power user.
You know, the real final skill here is just plain efficiency. A power user isn't just someone who knows where the buttons are. It's someone who can get the job done fast. That means working smarter, using keyboard shortcuts, and knowing the correct terminology so you can talk the talk, especially in your practicals.
First up, these shortcuts. You need to burn these into your muscle memory. Seriously. Control-S for save, Control-C for copy, Control-V for paste. These work everywhere, not just in OpenOffice. Mastering them will literally save you hours of your life.
And finally, vocabulary. You have to know these terms for your Viva. Knowing that the writer file is in ODT, that a range is a block of cells, or that WYSIWG stands for what you see is what you get, which just means your printout will look exactly like your screen. Knowing this stuff proves to your examiner that you actually understand the concepts behind the clicks.
So let's end on this thought. The software we've talked about today, it will change. New apps will come along, but these core skills, the ability to write clearly, to analyze data with confidence, and to present your ideas in a compelling way, are those ever going to go out of style? No way. Master these fundamentals and you'll be ready for whatever the future throws at you.